course, tonight we're going to talk about the Champions League draw as well. We know Liverpool's path to the final. Paris Saint-Germain, the first one up. And it's interesting, if Liverpool get through that one, then we're going to look at probably Villa and Bruges. So, one of those two. The interesting thing about the quarterfinal, though, should we get past PSG, is the second leg will be away from Anfield. So it'll either be a Villa Park or Bruges Stadium. But if Liverpool made it all the way through to the semi-final, then we'd have the second leg back at Anfield. So we'll talk about all of that tonight as well. Mark, do you know what? I've been thinking about this Champions League draw all day. And I know some people wanted the other side and the easier side, but I always look at it like this. If you want to win the European Cup, you're going to have to beat the best of what's out there. So if Liverpool really are the best team in this competition, it shouldn't really matter who we face. So let's see what the next couple of rounds bring. We have to take on Paris Saint-Germain in the last 16. First leg over in Paris, second leg at Anfield. And look, they had a very convincing 10-0 aggregate victory over Brest, but I still think we're the better side, so I think we'll get the job done. Nick said, can't say I'm fussed about the draw. In this draw, we won't have to play Madrid in a hypothetical final. How do PSG still scare people? They've been a European paper tiger for ages now. On the Champions League draw, Nick, I agree with you. The draw, in my opinion, is not the worst in the world. Now look, there's two sides to the draw. You can look at the right-hand side of it, Barcelona's side of it, and think, okay, maybe the pathway through there is a little bit easier. You've got Dortmund, Lille, the two German clubs, Munich and Leverkusen, and then down the bottom of the draw, I can't remember who's down that side of the draw, but all the English clubs are over on the left-hand side of the draw. So Liverpool's potential quarter-final opponents would be Villa if we get through that. And then there's a chance you get Arsenal or one of the Madrid clubs if Arsenal get past PSV. So the second leg of the semi-final, if we got that far, being at Anfield, would be huge for me as a fan to look at that. But we can't get ahead of ourselves because Paris Saint-Germain are our opponents. We know we travel to Paris for the first leg and then Liverpool have the second leg at Anfield. And I'm not scared about it either, Nick. They're a decent side with a decent coach. But like I've said, if you really want to win the Champions League, nothing like this should be scaring you. You should be looking at this and thinking, right, well, that's the pathway, that's what it is. And also, I'm kind of glad we stayed away from Munich because, they have a chance to get to a final in their own stadium. So they're going to be going all out to try and make sure that they can get through that side of the draw. But it is an interesting side. The potential of quarters against Villa or Bruges and then semis against either of the two Madrid clubs or Arsenal will be very, very intriguing. I don't know who people think gets through the other side of the draw. On our side of the draw, as we said, we've got Paris Saint-Germain, Liverpool. Then the winner of that will take on the winner of Bruges, Villa. On the bottom half of our side of the draw, you've got Real Madrid taking on Atletico Madrid, so a derby there. And then Arsenal have PSV Eindhoven. Now look, you'd expect Arsenal to deal with PSV Eindhoven. So then it'll probably be Arsenal versus one of the two Madrid sides. And again, that's not an easy pathway through for Arsenal. They might have a fairly straightforward tie in PSV, but then they've got Madrid or Atleti. That's going to be difficult. So then semi-final for us would potentially be Liverpool versus either Atleti, Real, PSV or Arsenal. Second leg at Anfield. So I'd take that. So I'm not too displeased with the draw overall. And in all honesty, I don't see Arsenal getting past either of the Madrid clubs. I just don't. I think Real just have too much for them. And if Atleti can overcome Real, I think Atleti's defensive stubbornness and their frustration with the way that they play and set up against teams, I'd still fancy them to beat Arsenal as well. So I think we're going to be taking on, if we get that far, because we have a lot of work to do, I think it'll be one of the Madrid clubs in the semis. Now, a quarter-final against Villa would be very interesting. But let's not forget Simon Mignolet as well and Club Bruges. Ben Richardson said, Liverpool versus Barcelona final, in my opinion. Well, that would be an amazing final. And look, it would be seeded teams 1 and 2, wouldn't it? So it would go with the seedings if that is the case. Who would you rather face in the semis, Real or Arsenal? Madrid. Yeah, I think they would both be very, very, very close, cagey games. If you lost to Arsenal in the Champions League semi-final, that would cut deep. I'm not going to lie, that would cut deep. So I'd probably rather play Real Madrid. And do you know what? I actually would probably prefer our chances over Real Madrid. I think Arsenal would be a really cagey affair, and I think it wouldn't be the best of viewing from a spectacle. But I think us and Madrid would be two better games of football. We've already beaten Madrid once this season, albeit it was at Anfield and they weren't in the greatest of form. But ultimately, if you want to win this Champions League, you got to beat whoever's in front of you. And we are the favourites, by the way. The bookies do now have Liverpool installed as the favourites. The Opta supercomputer as well. Liverpool have been tipped, as said Anfield sector, as the favourites to win the Champions League, despite being handed a nightmare draw, according to Opta's supercomputer. Paolo Atan said, Craig, if we place Arsenal in the semis, it'd be 3 games in a row. Again, spot on, my friend, yeah. There is the potential, as you've said, for that to be 3 Liverpool-Arsenal games in a row. So let's wait and see what happens. Says here, Liverpool could play Arsenal in the Champions League semi-final, second leg at Anfield on the 7th of May, and 3 days later play Arsenal in the Premier League for a potential title challenge. It would be a massive, massive week if that was the case.